All right, so we are right now streaming to YouTube. We have some technical difficulties, or rather, Dhyanandra is the speaker for today, seems to have some. He did connect to the call and we had a chat, and then as you can see on the picture, he froze. So let's give him a few minutes and see if he reconnects. Right, so now he's out of the call, which is, I mean, it's not good, but it means that he's probably, Teams finally picked up that he's no longer on, so he will hopefully come back soon. The topic for today, though, is going to be files to SQL tables with Datamarts in Power BI, and it's kind of a trickery to use Power BI to read like different file formats and using the Datamart functionality in Power BI, get them into a SQL table. So it's basically, if I understood correctly from the abstract, it's not going to be so much about using Power BI, but rather just using Power BI as an ETL tool to get the data in from whatever file format you have to a Datamart, which is going to sit in Azure SQL, and then you can query that data using T-SQL, as we're all used to. So I hope Dhyanandra reconnects soon, so we can get that presentation. I'm going to check if he wrote an email or something to me in the meantime. Let's see, Linda is writing. Hello, Linda. Isn't this the beauty of doing things live? Yeah, it is. It is. It's I mean, I've been lucky. It's episode 139 of SQL Friday, and we haven't had too many technical, you know, problems. Hi there. There we go. We have a speaker. Awesome. I was just saying that in the time that I've run SQL Friday, we haven't had too many like technical problems. Gianluca Sartori had a blue screen in the middle of a demo once, and he was gone for like 5 minutes. But he wrote me quickly on Twitter that he was on his way back, so I knew at least. It's way past 12, so I'm really glad to have you back. And let's begin with me trying to pronounce your name. Is it Dhyanandra? All right. First chance. Well, maybe you're just being nice and saying it's perfect. We'll hear when you present yourself. And then Andrew is going to talk about files to SQL tables in minutes with Datamarts in Power BI. And without further ado, welcome to SQL Friday. The stage is yours. I'm going to monitor the chat so you don't have to on your own. And people, if you have questions, type them in the chat, and I will either interrupt you or do we take questions at the end? What do you prefer? Yeah. Then I will mute myself and let you do your thing.
Purpose, but today I will only focus on the purpose they serve for this presentation to convert data files to SQL tables. So what are Datamarts in Power BI? So they are an instance of fully managed Azure SQL database in their raw form. If you don't want to use their SQL capabilities, you won't be even aware that it's running on a SQL server. To you, it just looks like another data source, right? They provide a Power Query online for a simple and no-code experience for ETL. Power Query is very powerful, right? You don't have to write any code. If you do want to write a code for transformation, you can do that. You have that option available. then you don't have to tune it, you don't have to optimize it, you don't have to worry about the performance. Microsoft takes care of all of it. It also comes with a built-in SQL editor. So you don't want to connect to SSMS or Data Studio. You can use the built-in SQL Studio, built-in query editor in that. If you want to use SSMS, Data Studio, or any other tools, you can also connect them using a SQL endpoint to the Datamart. And finally, the best part that I like about it, they support row-level security. That's same as the Power BI. Once you set up the row-level security, it also propagates to the downstream system. If you want to build a Power BI report in the future, the row-level security directly propagates to the report as well. Okay. So before we move on, let's talk about the availability and licensing. So as of today, it's not available in all the Azure regions. It's an Azure offering, right? So it's not available in West India, UAE Central, Poland, Israel, and Italy. Other than that, it's not available on Power BI EMSQ. So if you have a Power BI offering just for embedded application, it doesn't work there. Then to make Datamarts work, you need to have a premium workspace because it's a premium offering. You can have a premium P, that we call it P1, P2, P3. You can have a premium per user capacity, or now it's also available in the Fabric, including the trial capacity. So the demo I'll give for the example today, it's on a Fabric trial capacity. Then other than that, you need a creator license in Power BI as well to be able to create a data mart. In Power BI, we have like 2 creator licenses. Either it's a pro or it's a premium per user PPU license. And finally, you need to have the right to write things into that Power BI workspace. So you could have an admin, a member, or a contributor workspace role. So these are the 3 that gives you the writing access to a Power BI workspace. Let's talk a bit about the Power Query. So Power Query is a data transformation and preparation engine. And what it does is that it gives you a graphical interface so you can connect to multiple data sources, whether you want to connect a SQL server, a JSON file, a CSV file, an OData feed, it's all built in. You don't have to write any new code to connect to the data source. Then it also gives you a visual interface to apply any transformation that you want to do during your ingestion. And now that comes in both a graphical interface and also a code. And the Power Query uses M formula language. So you can write some functions in the M code to achieve the necessary transformations. Okay, so let's move on to one of the examples, and that's where we will spend most of our time. So just for the sake of this presentation, I have 2 small files. I don't want to do anything complicated. So I have some dummy IT spend data, and I want to analyze how much money I have spent on conferences over the time. And let's do it in the Datamarts. And how do we do it in the Datamarts, right? So first, let's look at the files. So I have the cost details here. It's a JSON file. Let's just take a quick look at it. Just 4 columns. It's a simple JSON file. And the other side, I have the spend details in a CSV. Right? That's how it is. So now what I'm trying to do, I have to analyze it. So first, I will take it to the Datamart, and I will convert them to a table. Then I will use their inbuilt query editor and also with SSMS to write a query that can give me the result. And I'll also show you if you want to create a Power BI report right from them in the Power BI workspace itself, you have just 1-click option available. Okay, so I'll move on to my Fabric workspace. I have this bookmark here. Okay, so first thing, you need to have a premium workspace, and you see this diamond here. That's an indicator that I have a premium workspace, and this time it shows as a Fabric content. Let's get started by clicking on New, and then I'll move on to Datamart Preview. So it's a premium feature. It's a preview feature right now. It's not in production yet, so it's not available for production usage. So I recommend that you don't use it for any kind of production usage. Right. So let's get one started. I will just do IT spend analysis. It takes a minute to create. It needs to spin up a new Azure SQL Server for you, and then we assign a database to us. But I have another one ready, just like a cooking show. So I can directly go in there that I created earlier today. So here is my data mart, and it comes with a semantic model. Let's focus on the data mart first. So this one is ready. Let's try to get the data in. It's that simple. You just go to get data. And then you are welcomed by the Power Query editor, where you choose the data source. And then if you haven't worked with Power BI before, that's where Power Query graphical interface is to get your data from a source. So if you look at view more here, you can see all the sources that it supports. You don't have to write any line of code to get the data in. You can just choose your database, your data source, or Excel, CSV, whatever file right here, and you can get the data in, right? If you want to enter data manually directly, you have the option as a blank table available as well. Let's say if you have a data in a Power BI data set and you just want to use the query again, you can use the blank query and copy paste the code from there to here. That also works. For now, let's go to the upload because I have files in my local machine. I would just upload the files here. Let's get the CSV first. And once the file is uploaded, this will be uploaded to your business OneDrive to business accounts. It doesn't go to the Microsoft, it stays within your organization cloud, right? Here I can set up some connections, and in this case, it's automatically set up. Here's my connection name. I'll just click on next. In this screen, you can preview your data. If you want to change the encoding of file in case it has misinterpreted that, what is the delimiter in case of a CSV file or the data type detection? Do you want to do it based on 200 rows or the entire data set that you have provided? For now, it all looks correct to me. I will just do transform data. Right. And now here we are in Power Query Editor where you can do the transformation. So you have a lot of options available. In the transform, you can change the type, you can remove some column, you can clean it, you can transform it. I don't need to do much about it here. I just want to rename this column to remove this slash and the space. So I will just double click it and rename it. All right, and this file looks ready to me. Let's get in the other file now. This time I will get the JSON file. Same procedure. I'll go to get data, click on more, and then I will upload the file, JSON file. The file is getting uploaded to my OneDrive. Okay, and they are loaded. So all the keys has become the column name and my table is ready here. Let's just quickly rename it to be consistent, and I will remove these spaces from here. First element name, and I will also remove it, the spaces from here. Okay, and let's rename it. From here, I will just call this cost details, spend details, and click on save. So that's all the ingestion and transformation I had to do, and my data will be ready in a database now. Just let it load the data again. All right, so our data mart, or let's say our database is ready. My data is in, my files are available, and the table is transformed. And I can just take an overview here just by looking at it here. I want to see how does the data look like in each table. They are all available right here. Right. So that was it about getting the files and converting them into table, literally minutes, right? Now let's try to write a SQL on it. So first thing we have, first option is a SQL query in a built-in online SQL editor. So we'll just start a new SQL query here. And so my task was to get the spend on conferences over time, right? So let's look at what columns do I need. Right, so I can just start writing select, and I want the date, so I can just drag and drop here. From spend details, let's get the cost detail from here. Now I have cost element ID here equal to dim dot cost element ID to a group by, to an order by one. Let's put it where clause, where cost element name, I guess that was the column, equal to conferences. Okay. Value. Okay. Okay, so here's my data available, and now I'm ready to begin my analysis with SQL. And another amazing part is whenever you write a query, it automatically saves it. So you can come back to it later, look at it if you want to do anything about it. Then the next best part that I like about it here, let's say I want to export this to an Excel. So all I have to do is just select the query and click on Open in Excel. This will ask me, do I really want this query? And this Excel is directly connected to my database now. So I will have an Excel ready. And every time I open this Excel, this will automatically, of course, after authentication, will refresh with the latest data from my Datamart. Okay, so right now I'm on a VPN, so I need to disconnect it and do a bunch of things to get it ready. But once it's ready, you can get this here. Let's try to see if I can make this work quick. Suspend this. Okay, so it's the defender who's verifying it. All right, let's get back to this in a bit. Like let it do its thing. Next part, if you want to save it as a report or you want to visualize this in a different way, just select it again, click on Explore this data preview, and you get another screen here. And the columns that we have selected in our select statement, they will be available here in the choose data. Okay, actually, let me close this because I read about this recently. The order by clause is not yet supported in your previews and the Power BI reports. So they're still working on it. It's like a bug. Right, so let's do this one. Okay, our Excel is not ready. Don't seem to getting data here as well. How typical, you want to present something and it doesn't work. Twice in a day.
Beauty of live demos, like Linda wrote earlier.
Reminds me of this Murphy's Law. You want to prove something works and it doesn't. And you want to prove something doesn't work and it works. All right, let's give it another try. Select run. Yeah, there we go. So here I have my date, my amount. First thing I get it as a metric here on the top, and the same I get it as a visual. I can choose if I want to show it as a chart, as a table. So it's a quick presentation in a graphical form as well right there. If you want to save it, you have an option to save it as an exploration, or you can save it as a Power BI report. So if I just save it, this will be available in my Power BI workspace. Okay, something went wrong. You get the idea, right? All right, let's don't save it. So that's all in here. There's another topic that I won't discuss, but I want to just highlight. Now with Fabric, there's another way of writing query, and it's called new visual query. And how this works is you can drag and drop visual components here. I haven't explored it further yet, so I won't talk about it. But if you're interested, go look into the Microsoft docs. So you don't have to write a SQL query, but you rather bring in the visual components, and the Fabric engine tries to make a query for you and gives you the result. So they call it visual query. Right. Then let's talk about connecting to SSMS and other SQL features that we have. So let's head over to the workspace first. And what we need from here is we need a SQL connection string that we will pass into our SSMS. So you can get it from copy connection string here. And there we have the string. Then I will just head over to my SSMS, start a new connection, paste the connection string here. Two important things to note here. So right now, only Entra MFA is supported. You cannot have any other kind of authentication methods here. It's only MFA that is supported right now. And in connection properties, you can leave the database blank. Click on connect. And let's see, it opens a new window. So I have the pop-up on my other screen now. Right, getting some authentications. Okay, so I am in. And if you look at the name kind of looks weird here, but that's what Power BI has created automatically. It's an instance. Then you can look around. It's a proper SQL database. And whatever we did, it's available in Power BI prod data EMEA, and then it has a bunch of date and timestamp when it was created. And the data we have inputted earlier, the one that we ingested, it's available as views. It's not in the tables, it's in the views. So you can see it here. And model is the default schema where the data ends up. So you can look up. It's just a normal SQL server here. Right. So all the columns are available here. And also you have the security roles here. So in case you want to share it with something, you can look at them further. You have users and roles. So there are a bunch of things you can do here. Another use case that I think about it is once you have data in here this way, now I'm not a SQL database expert, but maybe you can take a backup and try to restore into your other normal databases if that's the way you proceed with your tasks. All right, let's get back here. Let's talk about security and other things we had. So we have already covered analyze with SQL. Let me bring this up again. Message. Okay. So let's talk about access and security, right? So I have my database ready and it's for an ad hoc requirement, but maybe I want to share it with my colleague or share it with my broader team. How do I do it? So one thing is to connect to the Datamart, we need a SQL connection string, and that we just saw how did we get it from the Datamart. There are a bunch of other places where you can get the SQL connection string from. But just sharing that connection string is not enough. So if you want your team or your some colleague to have access to it, you need to give them separate access rights as well in the Power BI. Right. So there are two ways to give somebody an access, and then another way to restrict access to other people. So first is workspace role. We will talk about them in a minute. Second is Datamart level permission. And then we have role level security here. So let's move on to our Datamart again here. So for the workspace level, you can just give it from manage access, and then you add users here, add people or group. And then important to note here is, so when you add somebody as admin member or contributor to workspace, they get an admin access right to your database. If you add somebody as a viewer workspace role here, they get only the viewing rights to the database. That's one. Then viewer has certain restrictions. So there's a documentation available on Microsoft Learn that has the details of what can a viewer do and cannot do in the database itself. Okay. And to give somebody access directly from the Datamart, you can directly just click on your Datamart. And you have the share option here. Just type the name of the people and you can decide what kind of access do you want them to. Do you want them to build reports on it, or do you want to just read the data from? Just type in a name. You can send them an email as well with some information, and you just click on grant. I'm not going to do that. So that's the alternate purpose of Datamart we are doing. Then I want to also explain what is this semantic model here. So if you're not a pro Power BI developer or you haven't been working here, it's important to know the primary function of Datamart. So earlier, we also had a data flow, right? So somebody who knows both the terms. So there's the elder cousin data flow, then comes the Datamart. So what is the difference in these two terminologies or two different tool stacks, right? So you can do similar things in the data flow. It comes with a Power Query Online. You can ingest the file, transform the data, but data flow doesn't give you a SQL connection string. So you cannot use it as a SQL database. You cannot write SQL against data flow. And there was a bottleneck. And a lot of time when you're working in a big organization and you have defined processes, teams are working in sprint, a lot of time the business has to wait for their data to be ingested, turn into a table somewhere, and then Power BI to be ready. So to kind of circumvent this, Microsoft has come with Datamart. So the goal is the business can directly go to their Power BI subscription, and with the help of Power Query, they can spin up their own Datamarts. They can get the data ingested from any kind of source virtually, do the transformation themselves, have it ready as a SQL server. And because it has a high limit of data storage, they don't have to wait until the IT is ready with all the changes. And once a data mart is ready, a default Power BI data model or semantic model is created. Because Power BI can directly connect to the data mart as well, because it's in the end SQL server in the end, but you can't use that directly to make a report. So to function that, every data mart is supplied with a semantic model. So when you create a data mart, you get a semantic model, and there you can define all the relationship, all the DEX measure. So this is similar to what you do in Power BI datasets. right? So a data set is automatically connected. If you want to change something, and anytime you make a new addition to the data mart or remove something, the data set automatically gets updated. So the engine automatically puts in the new columns, new tables, or removes the changes that you have made. Right. So let's look at the security part of it. I won't go too much into the detail, but you have the same RLS what you find in Power BI desktop. You can just create as manage roles. Create multiple roles here. So in case you have to share the workspace with many more users than you actually intended, and you don't want them to see data from certain business areas or product lines, you can define all those roles in the RLS editor here. And once it's ready, it's propagated down on all the sources. So this role in your SQL engine as well. So whether you connect with SSMS, you have the restrictions applied. If somebody directly connects a data set to it, you have the restrictions applied. If somebody connects a Power BI report based on this data set, you have the restrictions applied. So it's defined once, used multiple times. And that's another feature that Dataflow doesn't support yet. They don't support RLS, but Datamarts do. Okay, that's not going to apply right now. Sorry, just give me a minute to see. Right, so let's talk about the limitations now. So there are a bunch of limitations that we have here. Switch back to the full screen. So first thing, you have up to 100 GB of storage here. So if you have data up to 100 GB, you can use Datamart to store that data. Right now, that what we see in the queries also, only DQL statements are supported. DDML, DDL, and DDML are not supported. So you cannot do further refining or creating new views on top of that. So for authentication, it only supports Microsoft Intra ID. There is no other method supported, no SQL Server credentials or any other credentials supported for now. And then there's no managed identity or service principal supported. So it only supports Microsoft Intra ID authentication. Do we have any questions, Magnus?
No questions. I saw someone started typing, but then nothing in the chat now.
All right, so that's basically all I had to share. So it's not very technical oriented session, and I'm well before my time limit, but that's where I would conclude. Then I have written a blog about this as well. So in case you want to look at more the detailed step or the other anything that I have left behind, or you want to read more about it, I would happily share my blog details. You can read up or shoot me any questions on my LinkedIn as well.
Thank you. Awesome. I realized something when maybe 5-10 minutes into the presentation that when you reconnected to Teams, I missed setting up the new audio stream for OBS. So that means the first few minutes on YouTube are without sound, which isn't perfect. But I'll edit it so that at least it's viewable afterwards. So,
but if you wish, we can do a recording of that session again. I can send you a recording if that's important. I know you like to keep a log of everything on YouTube, so I can do that as well.
If you want to, it would be awesome.
All right, then I will send a new recording to you for the whole session. I'll do it again and I will send it soon, maybe over the weekend.
Fantastic. So everyone on YouTube, if you like the audio rather than the muted version, I'll upload it as soon as I get it from Dhyanandra. Let's see, we have a question here. You recommend this to replace on-prem data warehouse setup to act as data source for Power BI? Seems much lower cost compared to hosting SQL Server on VMs.
I won't. So in an on-prem data warehouse, you have much more capabilities, right? You can do your indexing, partitioning, more optimization and tuning. But in Datamart, you can't. It's not aimed as a full-fledged replacement, right? It's good for ad hoc tasks. But as I mentioned, this is not the primary function of Datamart. It was designed so the business user can do a short turnaround, a quick turnaround time for their reporting needs. It's not intended to replace the data warehousing solutions. Like it's very limited in the SQL functionalities it offers and the backup. And then there's always the question of disaster recovery, security, compliance, governance. I don't think those can be addressed with just Datamarts.
But I think it's nice to just get. I mean, for me, I don't use Power BI more than look at reports and drill down. But I wouldn't be able to create a Power BI report, and and I guess to everyone, their tool of choice is nice. So if you get a SQL endpoint to your data, then at least I'm good to go. And if someone else works better in visuals and work better in Power BI, well, go ahead. So, and
So
I think that's kind of the beauty of Fabric as well, that you always have the SQL endpoint. You can always get your data. If you're used to writing T-SQL, then do that. If you're used to Python, do that. And it's
So I think when Fabric is more widely accepted, and looking at Datamarts have been in preview for a long time, so I don't think Microsoft actually plan to make it generally available. So Fabric will ultimately replace the Datamart as well, because Fabric kind of overwrites the use case that Datamart were designed for. So you can do everything in the Fabric now, right? But in the meantime, you don't have to upgrade to Fabric capacity if you already have a premium capacity and Power BI Pro license. So it's a good workaround in the meantime, because I have worked as a bit of data engineer, and I know how you get the data in through the whole organization process, maybe set up some data breaks, or you use some other kind of tools and directly maybe load it as external tables to a database, but it takes just a long time. So when your goal is just to do the analysis and delete the data or database at the end of the day, end of the week, then it doesn't make sense to go through all the hassle. And this provides a nice short workaround. So you can just use it right away, delete it, and nobody questions you. Why did you create a new SQL server? And you just get rid of it.
Yeah, because I imagine the cost is going to be minuscule if it's like you say, you're just doing your ad hoc analysis and then throw it away, then there's not going to be a lot of cost involved in it.
Yep. So in Datamart, you don't pay extra. So once you have Power BI Premium and you have a Pro license, you don't pay anything extra. So up to 100 GB, you can delete it, you can keep it for months, years, and nothing costs. So I have one Datamart, and I always just keep on dumping new stuff whenever I get an ad hoc request. So I don't have to pay anything extra on top of that. And as long as, because I'm not refreshing it every day, it doesn't impact my refresh times, schedules, or any kind of performance impact on my Power BI service as well. So it just stays there until I go and access it.
Cool. All right. So you mentioned in the beginning that this is your first public speaking, so congratulations to that.
Well, I will correct that. So not first, I had a Swedish Power BI user group earlier in January with Alexander and Linda. Linda is here. So that was
All
my
right.
first attempt. And today I would say it's my second and third. I have done some recording, but I wasn't speaking in live in front of audience.
All right. So I guess the next level up is to do in-person events and stuff. So
I hope so. I keep forward, but I keep applying, but you don't get a lot of approvals, just mostly get rejections.
okay. I'll talk to some organizers.
Great.
So are you coming to Data Saturday in Stockholm in May?
Yeah, I am registered. Well, I did submit a session there as well, right?
Okay.
But now I'm just going to be there as a participant. Then I have also asked my colleagues from Avanar to just join. I think it's a really amazing event, and it's in Stockholm. It's free, so why not?
Yeah.
Let's just learn something new.
Yeah, it's it took some time. The first SQL Saturday or Data Saturday in Sweden was in Gothenburg for a few years, but I like to have it closer to home. It's convenient. So, and I mean, it's quite a big crowd coming to it. Have you been there before, or
No,
is it
it's
the
my
first
it's
time?
my first time. So it's my first time, like even because I wasn't in Stockholm always, so it was very difficult for me to travel.
Yeah, I get it. Cool, but let's see. No more questions. Adam says, "Nice work. Good luck with your future sessions."
Thanks,
And
Adam.
I agree. I'll talk to some organizers and tell them to remember your name. So.
Thanks, man.